A man and a woman share an intimate moment. The woman tells him she needs to leave to change. He asks her to stay, but she gets up anyway. Before walking out, she tells him not to fall back asleep. He promises he won't, but once she's gone, he dozes off. The next morning, the man James oversleeps. Panicking, he jumps out of bed and throws on his clothes in a hurry. Dressed in a rush, he bolts out the door. He arrives just as the professor shuts the classroom door. James argues that he was practically inside already. After a brief standoff, Zimmett relents and James enters. The professor, Zimmett, reminds them that this is their last class. He tells them he did what he could for them, and now it is time to face the real world.
Now you have to go out and think on your own. Time to fly or die.
A student, Georgina interrupts and mentions that he is a slave to binary logic. When he asks the word logic to be defined, another student, Bonnie, explains it is the science of reason. Another student also chimed in,
or more precisely, the power of the mind to form judgments based on strict principles of validity.
The entire class start arguing about philosophy. Some students claim it's useless in real-world situations. Zimmett disagrees and passionately argues that philosophical thinking prepares them for life far more than they realize. He then invites the students to revisit their favorite mental exercises.
Do we feel like recapping some of our favorite thought experiments?
One student recalls a scenario called the infinite monkey theorem. Zimmett encourages him, saying that it is the classic way to wrap the head around the concept of infinity. It involves a monkey typing endlessly. Given enough time, it could eventually write an entire novel, no matter how improbable, proof that time and probability work in strange ways.
Time without any limit, every event has some actual mathematical probability of...
Another student brings up the trolley problem. A runaway train threatens to kill 5 people, but pulling a lever could redirect it to a track with only 1 person. Most agree it's better to lose 1 life than 5.
If you're being utilitarian about it, you can argue that you did the right thing, letting 1 person die to save 5.
Then the student interrupts and changes the question slightly. Same trolley, but now no lever. Instead, an overweight man is standing nearby. Pushing him onto the tracks would stop the trolley and save the 5. But this time, the logic is not accepted. The same student who supported the first solution hesitates now.
Absolutely not.
How's it less acceptable than the first version?
Zimmett asks why it is not acceptable now because they are still sacrificing 1 person to save another 5. Then another student, Petra, tells the class not to be fooled by the logic and that it is murder either way. After this, Zimmett asks if anyone has another scenario, and Georgina brings up the ignorant bliss paradox. A person hanging from a tall tower calls 3 friends for help. None assist, fearing they'd fall too.
So they step back.
The person survives the fall. But the question lingers. Is it better to live in ignorance about who would abandon you, or to know the painful truth?
I'd want to know the truth. Cut your losses and walk on. You'll find other friends.
After this, Zimmett tells them he has good news. Since they are about to part ways, none of them will leave lacking the credentials to thrive in the real world. They are well equipped to join university, but then he asks what if the society ceases to exist?
What if your credentials don't mean what you expected?
He then proposes one last experiment. It is a final thought experiment for their last session together. The students complain about this, saying the last day of school is not meant for learning, but Zimmett insists they participate, telling them he can still fail them or deduct points.
Or at least knock them down at letter grade for refusing to participate. That's what the academic handbook says.
Then Zimmett starts to explain the scenario, a fictional scenario where nuclear apocalypse has begun. The environment shifts into imagination. Giant explosions dominate the skyline and panic fills the air. Zimmett announces that the explosion is radiological and it is heading their way.
Sorry, what are we doing at Prambanan?
Field trip.
He then leads the students to a high-tech underground shelter. He unlocks the bunker, and inside is a fully equipped, cozy home designed for long-term survival. But it has space and supplies for only 10 people for 1 year. No exceptions. James suggests they all stay, but Zimmett shuts that down quickly. Radiation outside will linger for months, and the oxygen supply can't support more than 10 people.
10 people for 1 year. Even one person more means death by hypoxia.
On top of this, the temperature of an impact point is 10 million degrees. They only have an hour to decide before the wind starts dropping fallout. Zimmett adds another detail: the event is global. The only way of survival is by spending an entire year in the bunker. They must decide who should stay there,
Which means you have to decide who's valuable enough to expend limited resources on.
If there are 1,000 bunkers worldwide, each with 10 occupants, that gives a gene pool of 10,000 people to repopulate the Earth. Back in the real classroom, Georgina refuses to join the scenario. She calls it cruel, choosing who gets to live or die.
It's repulsive.
Zimmett challenges her, warning that if she opts out, the population in the scenario rises to 20, making survival impossible. He then keeps explaining the scenario vividly. Georgina reluctantly decides to stay,
And your organs start shutting down through radiation poisoning. Try not to scream.
but Petra, visibly disturbed, tells Zimmett the exercise is not for her. She grabs her things and heads for the door. Zimmett tries to entice her with an unheard of reward, an A+ if she stays. But Petra still refuses to stay.
So I have to ask, how does it feel knowing you could have been the first if only you hadn't walked out the door?
Then he shifts tactics, hinting that her actions could harm James's final grade. He wants the best student of the class to stay if he wants a thought experiment to yield a good result. Cornered, Petra remains.
I know I need the best student in the room to stay in the room.
Zimmett introduces the next stage of the simulation. Each student must draw a card. On it is a profession or identity randomly assigned. These roles will help determine who is valuable enough to earn a spot in the bunker. Since James arrived late, Zimmett chooses him to go first. Petra quietly remarks that punctuality is a virtue only lonely people cling to. Zimmett doesn't respond and signals James to begin. Oddly, Zimmett starts coughing as James pulls his card. When Petra takes hers, the same thing happens. The rest of the class follows suit, each student drawing a new identity. Once everyone has their roles, Zimmett asks them to share what they received. In the imagined world, James is now an organic farmer, and Petra is a structural engineer. Kavi is a real estate agent. Chips is a carpenter. Plum, an opera singer. The post-apocalyptic scenario continues as the students announce their newly assigned skills.
I'm a harpist.
I'm an astronaut.
One student is a published poet. Without warning, Zimmett shoots him. Everyone rushes to the poet's side. Zimmett shrugs off the reaction. A poet is not necessary. Petra objects, but Zimmett justifies the killing. Better a quick death than a slow one outside the bunker.
Was it any crueler than letting an atomic cloud peel his skin off?
Zimmett reminds them they have a very short window to choose who deserves a spot in the bunker. Petra asks Zimmett what role he received. His skill set is deliberately hidden, and the students must decide whether he's worth saving.
Because you might learn something from me that you need to survive.
A debate begins. Georgina speaks up for herself, and most of the students agree that her skill set is valuable. She earns their support. Russell follows her, but fails to secure enough votes for a spot in the bunker. The others follow, arguing for their place based on practical value. Doctors, engineers, and farmers dominate the conversation. Others, with less tangible roles, fight harder to justify their inclusion.
A real estate agent in a world with no more houses to buy or sell?
The final vote comes down to two options: Zimmett, whose abilities remain unknown, or an opera singer. Petra sides with the opera singer, but the others want Zimmett instead. The opera singer joins those who are not getting into the bunker, while Zimmett joins the others. James suggests everyone take 5 minutes to themselves before they're sealed in together. As the others pair off, Petra joins James, and he thanks her for choosing to stay.
What makes you think I stayed for you?
The brief moment of calm is shattered by the sound of gunfire. They rush toward the noise and find Zimmett has executed the students who weren't chosen. He claims the students didn't want to face the agony of death by radiation, he was simply helping them. Petra is disgusted. She tells James she doesn't want Zimit with them anymore. James announces that he is going to try some hydroponic gardening and assigns the others a task.
Maybe get some fresh vitamins in our system instead of just the freeze-dried stuff, so...
James devises a plan. He asks the others to head to the shelter without Zimit. Realizing he's being left behind, Zimit runs after them. But before he can reach the door, they seal it shut, locking him outside. Inside, the group begins exploring their new space. They start with the bathroom, then continue checking the rest of the bunker. There is an artificial garden, phototherapy, daybed, and many more.
Daybed? All to help alleviate depression.
That night, James and Petra sleep together. He tells her that as long as she's with him, he can survive anything.
I can farm the fields. I can rebuild the world.
While he sleeps, Petra sneaks to the bunker entrance. Through the glass, she sees Zimit, weak, exposed, and deteriorating from radiation. Just before he collapses, Zimit holds up a note. It reads, "I'm the only one who knows the code to get out." The rest of the group arrives just as Zimit collapses. They see the note he left and debate whether it's genuine or a last-ditch ploy to manipulate their guilt. Some consider opening the door, but stepping outside would mean certain death, so they hold back.
No. You'll flush with radiation if it opens.
Georgina suspects he's playing with them. If the code mattered, she argues, he would have written it directly instead of writing a message. The group deliberates, but ultimately decides to wait and see what unfolds.
364 more days till we know who's right.
With no option but to endure, they settle in and try to stretch their limited resources. As time passes, Petra often returns to the entrance, silently mourning Zimit's body, which lies motionless just beyond the glass. While some pass the days with board games or workouts, Petra remains distant. The year drags on. When it's finally time to leave, they gather with hope, only to discover the door won't open. A code is required, and Zimit was telling the truth all along. They try firing a gun at the glass, breaking it while doing other things, and searching for hidden controls, but nothing works. Eventually, the food runs out. They share the final portion. Afterward, one person dies from an aneurysm, and the others, desperate, resort to cannibalism. Another ends it for himself. As the oxygen dwindles, one by one, they all suffocate. Back in the classroom, the simulation ends.
Charming.
Zimit tells them they failed the exercise because they let emotions dictate survival choices. He reveals his secret identity in the simulation, the bunker's builder.
So it's no surprise I knew the exit code since I keyed it into the system myself.
Without missing a beat, Zimit launches them into another scenario. Despite their hesitation, the students go along. This time, the threat is a volcanic eruption. James questions what will be different. Zimit tells him not to expect a repeat and hands out new identity cards. James remains an organic farmer, but now he identifies as gay.
I'm an organic farmer who is gay.
Zimit adds a twist. This time, reproduction is necessary for survival. James argues that despite his orientation, he's still biologically capable and willing to contribute. The others vote to keep him. Georgina's role remains unchanged, an orthopedic surgeon. However, she recently returned from Uganda and could be carrying Ebola. The group now faces a dilemma: risk infection or lose a crucial medical expert. Georgina defends herself, saying the chance of infection is low and that medical skills should outweigh fear.
I highly doubt I contracted the disease. I'm sure I'll be fine.
But no one votes for her. Furious, she lashes out at Zimit. He replies that he's trying to expand her knowledge.
But some days your logic reeks of bullshit.
Next, Plum reveals her role. She's a hedge fund manager with an obsession over doomsday scenarios. She always carries a small fortune in jewels and precious metals, Her wealth and gender earn her a spot in the shelter.
She has girl parts.
Then it's Chip's turn. He's a carpenter, and James quickly points out how vital those skills would be in rebuilding society. The group agrees and votes him in. Petra's new identity is even more valuable. She's both a structural and electrical engineer. She's immediately selected. Lastly, Andy reads his card. He's an electrician, but he suffers from a rare condition where any physical injury gradually turns into bone, eventually immobilizing him completely. Unable to see a future with him in it, the group decides to leave him out.
Sounds like a losing battle.
As more students reveal their assigned identities, the group continues voting on who gets a spot in the bunker. Some roles are clearly valuable, others less so.
I'm a zoologist, and I blog at night for PETA.
Eventually, the poet steps forward. Before he can say much, Zimmit shoots him without hesitation, declaring the poet's spot as his own.
I'm afraid his slot's for me.
Why would we give it to you now?
The others realize they can't refuse him. He still holds the exit code. Suddenly, explosions erupt. Georgina grabs the car keys from Zimmit and makes a run for it. Some students sprint toward the bunker, while others pile into the car, trying to escape the devastation. But the eruption catches up with them. Lava and ash overtake the fleeing vehicle. The students who went on foot manage to reach the shelter. That night, everyone settles in. Petra gets up, looking for James, only to find him getting intimate with Jack. Crushed, Petra leaves without a word. James follows, trying to explain. When the others ask what happened, Petra tells them.
I walked in on James and Jack.
James and Jack.
Jack confirms it, adding that while his card didn't mention his orientation, they were told to act as their real selves. Bonnie is surprised, but Jack reminds her she's met his boyfriend before. He lives in Cambridge. Talk shifts to the challenge of repopulation. Kavi, the midwife, tries to create pairings based on biology and availability. Bonnie and Plum are both having their periods, so they're out for now.
How did you know I'm having my period?
I'm a midwife.
Okay. Petra, being fertile at the moment, becomes the focus. The only viable option left is Zimmit. James is shocked by this, but they don't have many options. James and Jack are ruled out. Nelson and Omaseed are already together. Chips is sterile. Kavi's faith forbids involvement with someone who's already involved with someone. Since no one else fits, Petra silently walks over to Zimmit.
What, right now?
James trails behind, pleading with her, saying he still loves her, but it's too late. The group begins coupling. Weeks pass, but there are still no pregnancies. Kavi suspects the stress is interfering with fertility. Growing restless, Zimmit demands that everyone rotate partners to increase chances. He insists even those previously excluded, like James and Jack, must now participate. The idea enrages Bonnie. She refuses outright and tells Zimmit that he's wrong about everything and always has been. She warns him not to force anyone into pairing or switch partners without consent. If he tries, she says she'll kill him.
But philosophy isn't morality, and even logic has its limit.
Zimmit walks out. When he returns, he's carrying a gun. He tells everyone to leave except Bonnie. Jack hides quietly, refusing to abandon her. Zimmit begins ranting about human flaws, claiming that people trust emotions over logic and that her resistance would doom the species. He says he can't allow that. As he points the weapon at Bonnie, Jack lunges. A scuffle breaks out. Bonnie grabs the gun and Jack stabs Zimmit with a pencil. In a fit of rage and pain, Zimmit runs to the shelter door and yanks it open. A torrent of volcanic fire and ash floods in, annihilating everyone inside. They snap back to reality, the classroom. Chips asks for another round, but everyone is visibly drained. James, now skeptical, questions Zimmit about the coughing during the roll draw. Once when James picked a card, and then again when Petra did. He didn't cough after that, though. Zimmit brushes it off, saying that he took a cough drop.
I took a cough drop. I didn't notice, and I've been looking right at you.
James then suddenly grabs Zimmit's box and bolts. Outside the classroom, James opens Zimit's mysterious box and makes a shocking discovery. The rolls in the simulations had been rigged. His and Petra's cards were never random.
These all say the same thing. Organic farmer who's gay.
James was always meant to be the gay farmer, Petra the multi-skilled engineer. Furious, he confronts Zimit, demanding an explanation.
I get that you never thought I was smart enough for your class. Does it really offend you that much that I'm here?
Zimit calmly references Plato's cave allegory. James begins explaining how someone chained in darkness comes to believe shadows are all that exists. When freed, he learns there's more to reality than he ever imagined.
And he realizes there were bodies casting the shadows and voices making the echoes.
Zimit claims James is that person and says the point of the exercises was to jolt him out of comfort and into awareness of the world's harsh truths. But James isn't buying it. He challenges Zimit to run a new version of the scenario, this time truly fair and untouched. Petra backs him up. Zimit agrees reluctantly, but alters James's role. He is now a florist. The next simulation begins on a peaceful island. While the students explore, Zimit slips away to the bunker. Inside, he hides the weapons and secretly pockets a gun. Later, Petra approaches Zimit and, in an unexpected moment, hugs him.
Because I know how hard this has been on you.
Then, she turns to the group. She asks for their trust and requests permission to make the bunker selections herself. After brief hesitation, they agree. Petra chooses her group, intentionally picking individuals Zimit would have deemed useless, the poet, the opera singer, and others lacking practical skills. She even leaves herself off the list, reserving the final spot for James. Zimit warns that without utility, they'll all die. Petra calmly counters, survival isn't just about skills. Connection, joy, and humanity matter too. She explains each choice with conviction. Zimit, irritated, deducts points from her with every selection.
She was exposed to the Ebola virus last week.
Jake complains about being the only one. He calls on any other closeted person to come out. Georgina jokes, saying no one's going to come out just for a thought experiment, but then Parker raises his hand.
Parker, get in.
As the chosen students approach the bunker, Zimit, furious at being excluded, reaches for the gun he hid, but it's gone. Petra, composed, tells him she took it during their earlier conversation.
You're going to walk away and find your own fate with it.
After Zimit gets the gun back, he points at the chosen group. The bullets are out. But before he could put them in, James raised a rifle Zimit thought he'd hidden. Zimit taunts him, reminding him that he is a pacifist, but James refuses to back down. Zimit tries to reassert power by reminding them that he alone knows the exit code, but Bonnie steps forward and recites it. She had memorized it during the previous scenario. Outmaneuvered and powerless, Zimit turns and walks away. James invites Petra to join the others in the bunker. She declines and gives her place to Bonnie. Bonnie refuses. After an argument, Petra gives the last spot to Chips. She then proposes sailing to safety beyond the blast radius. Just as she's about to take the boat keys from Chips, he tricks her. He pulls her inside the bunker, slips out, and locks the door behind her. The group departs. Inside the shelter, life is good. Without pressing duties or fear, the group spends the year immersed in music, creativity, and quiet moments of joy.
Kill me tomorrow! Let me live tonight!
During that time, James finally opens up to Petra, telling her how much she means to him. She listens. She doesn't feel the same for him. Instead, she tells him what she admires about him.
The way he smiles.
Life continues in the bunker. Those who are safe inside wish the well-being of the others. When the year ends and they exit the bunker, they expect devastation. But nothing has changed. The island is untouched. Zimit's grim forecast was wrong. Zimit is also alive. But while they're alive, their supplies are gone.
But since you're mostly deficient in skill sets of practical value, you can never get back to Jakarta.
Just as the group begins to process the peace they've found, the illusion shatters. and a nuclear missile crashes onto the shore nearby. With no hope left, they accept what's coming. James walks toward the missile, ready to trigger it. Before he can, a gunshot stops him. Zimmit appears. He reveals he's been hiding alone in a cave for the past year, clinging to life. Zimmit raises his weapon, threatening James and demanding control, but the others step forward, forming a human shield around James. Petra and James hold hands and activate the missile, and in an instant, they're gone. Back in the classroom, reality returns. The simulation ends. Chips casually reveals that his real reason for trapping Petra and taking the boat wasn't strategy, it was selfishness. He wanted to be the only man among 6 women. In his own thought experiment inside the big thought experiment, all the guys die and he would be the only one with the women.
In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Jake jokes about this. Zimmit calls the class to a close. The students quietly leave, laying their textbooks on his desk. Petra, however, stays behind. She shuts the door and faces Zimmit alone. She accuses him of using the simulations not as lessons, but as personal revenge, especially against her and James. Petra sees through the intellectual facade.
Being smart isn't everything. Has it done for you just what you hoped?
The truth comes out. He and Petra had once been involved, and these scenarios were his way of punishing James, whom he considered unworthy. Petra tells Zimmit plainly she loves James.
I love him.
Zimmit looks heartbroken. She walks and sits beside him. He wonders how James managed to get into the college Petra is going to. She jokes, saying that she wrote his essay for him.
I wrote his essay for him.
Zimmit tries to convince her to stay. He tells her they would be good for each other. She tells him they would work, but it's too late now. She gets up and kisses him softly as she says goodbye. She tells him he is a good teacher. Left alone, Zimmit sits in his office, still and hollow. He opens a drawer, takes out a revolver, and in the silence that follows, only a single gunshot is heard. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.